All right, so I've shown you that you can make pinwheels, you can make buttons of clay, you can use just straight vertical or horizontal coils. I also like to create diagonal coils. So I'm going to just take this long skinny coil and I'm going to cut it into even lengths like this. Again, using my little metal scraper. Really handy for cutting clay. Okay. Now I'm going to use my wood knife to blend those together. So this will be the inside of the pot that I'm starting to blend already. I'll place these toward the inside, this side anyway. Then to make a diagonal coil, I'm just going to cut that at an angle. And I now have coils at an angle. So I can now place these onto the wall of my pot, these diagonals, like that, okay. Now with these separate pieces that I'm adding, it is a good idea to once again score and slip these pieces together. For the most part, if you're just layering coils on top of coils, you don't necessarily have to score and slip. But if I'm making a pinwheel, or in this case these diagonal coils, these little sections that I'm going to add on, I'll probably want to score and slip that together. You see how that slip squishes out a little bit? That's perfect. And then blend that with my wood knife. Kind of continue that process. It's got a little, sticky on the outside, but I'll clean that up later. I'll just take my sponge and go over that a little bit later. Okay. So I can continue that process. At this point, I'll probably run another coil right over the top of that, just to help secure those in place. Yes, I didn't score and slip that one on, so it doesn't want to stay very well. And you can see how very quickly you can start building the wall of your pot. Now here again, I've got this little open space right here. You can leave that open. Small spaces like that would be fine. But again, I like to fill those with buttons, just to make a stronger, sturdier piece of pottery. All right, as I continue working then, I'm going to end up with a piece of pottery that, is looking something similar to this. Notice that I have a belly on this thing, and it's starting to get narrow to where I can make a neck out of this. So what's difficult at this point though is to continue building with a narrow neck and try to get my hand in there to make sure the coils are well blended and secure together. So what I will do instead is actually make my neck separate from the pot. So it will then attach, right there. So I made this piece up until this point, and then I just thought it would be easier to create my neck, and then I'll score and slip those together. Notice the inside of the neck is nice and smooth. I blended everything together inside there, and now I just need to score and slip these together. This clay is still really soft, and to really finish it and clean it up nice, I'm probably going to wait for it to get to what's called the leather hard stage. Clay goes through different stages. The wettest stage of clay is this stage right here. This is the slip stage, or liquefied clay. The next stage of clay is plastic stage, which is this stage, where it's bendable and pliable and pushable. That's plastic. Then as water evaporates from that clay, it goes to what is called the leather hard stage. So it's still kind of dark in color, but it becomes firm, like a piece of leather. And if you were to really bend the clay at that point, it's probably going to crack just like a piece of leather would as well. Okay, so I've scored and slipped that on there, just making sure there's a little bit of pressure applied to it. And then I'm just going to take my sponge and kind of clean up that seam right there. The coil right down here started to collapse inside, so I'm going to take my wood knife and push that out. The wood knife is really nice. It's really good, you know, at this end for cutting clay when it's leather hard and plastic. But this end is like an extension of my hand, or my finger, I should say. It has a nice round tip to it, and then it also has a little curve so that I can kind of grab the clay and blend it together in narrow spaces. So I use this like an extension of my hand. And while I do that, I'm just making sure that this coil that I have my neck sitting on top of isn't collapsing inside. Like right here, it's starting to collapse a little. So I'm going to push that out. Okay. Well, this has a little bit more work to do. Eventually, once this dries, I'll be able to peel the styrofoam bowl right off. Right now it's a little sticky, so I don't want to peel it off just yet, but once this dries, it'll shrink a little bit, and that styrofoam bowl will peel right off, and you can just throw it in the garbage. But now I've got a lot of work to do, actually. I've got the pot built, but now I need to do a lot of cleaning, either with my sponge, or I can take a paintbrush and clean up in between my coils with a little bit of water, but there's a lot of cleaning to do at the end of the day. Okay. Now here is a finished piece that has been glazed. You can see how it fit into the shape of the bowl, and there's a lot of variation to the direction of the coils. There's some pinwheels, some coils that I've added some texture to, lots of little buttons, some coils that kind of go up and down. So all that variation adds to the interest of the pot. So, you know, the requirement is to have 5 different variations to your coils, but really to me the whole pot should be full of variation. And one thing I do like to do is add texture to my coils. So I'm just going to take the round part of this pin and actually start to create some little ball shapes into my coils. I like that because when a glaze goes over the surface, it's going to change color just a little bit. So I'll continue with those little dots. And you can see here with these dots how the glaze was a little bit lighter as it settles inside that dot. So that is your coil pot, 6 to 8 inches. This will take a good amount of time to get this finished. So it's one that we'll take several hours on, and we'll be patient with and try to do a really good job with it. Thank you.